Hi, and welcome back to yet another video. This is the second episode of the story about the time when Sasuke gives his sharingan eyes to Naruto on verge death in waves. Let's watch as Naruto Uzumaki, Uchiha takes world by storm. After you've finished watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Naruto stared into the mirror the hospital staff provided him while reflecting on the last week and all the strides he made. The blonde was improving his Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Instead of trying to overwhelm his opponent with numbers, the teen would have smaller squads of shadow clones assault the enemy in a coordinated attack. After placing the mirror on the bedside table, Naruto looked at his developing muscles. It was surprising to the boy just how much stronger and faster he was able to get in a short 7 days. Guy-sensei may have been a complete and total loon, but he was a loon that was unmatched in taijutsu. The green-clad man didn't teach him any cool moves like Sasuke had, much to his dismay, but he did work Naruto to the bone and then make him go through all the basic stances and moves while correcting the boy's mistakes. Now the Sharingan wasn't wasting as much energy or overextending while attacking. Overall, his basic shinobi skills skyrocketed. Iruka would have been amazed. Naruto couldn't help himself and picked the mirror up to look at the change his Sharingan went through again. Instead of two tomoe circling around the pupil, his eye had morphed into a red six-pointed star, formed by 3 intersecting ellipses and outlined in black. The boy was so entranced by the design he didn't hear the Hokage enter the room until the blonde heard, "Are you okay, Naruto?" The blonde answered without lifting his head, "I'm fine, old man, but Sasuke's eye went all weird. I think it's defective." Naruto dropped the mirror onto the bed and turned to look at his adoptive grandfather to continue, but the look of shock on the old man's face stopped him and the Hokage gasped, "Mangekyo." Confused by the man's reaction, Naruto's eyebrows knitted together. "Do you know what's going on, Hokage Jigi?" Sighing as he looked at Naruto's mismatched eyes, the aging leader sat next to the village's savior. "Naruto, what is in your eye socket?" "Well, that eye you have is perhaps the greatest secret and darkest legacy of the Uchiha. One that was probably better left buried, but it can't be helped now. And for a relative of the Senju to unlock it, Naruto, you are a walking irony." Naruto waited patiently for the Hokage to continue and suppressed his questions. He knew from experience the old man wouldn't be rushed, and when finished he would explain what the blonde didn't get, that is an evolution of the Sharingan, the ultimate form that would grant its user great powers. However, the price paid for these powers is terrible. Most think it to be legend because the few Uchiha that do unlock it probably hide it from the village, and probably even the clan itself. You see, in order to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan, it was believed you had to kill your best friend. The Sharingan looked down at his hands in shock because of what he just learned. Tears streamed from his right eye while blood poured down the left side of his face. "So I guess it is my fault Sasuke died?" To his
shock, the white and maroon Hokage robes engulfed him as the old man gave him a comforting hug, disregarding the blood staining his robes. The teen lifted his mismatched eyes and they widened in surprise at the concern visible on the Sandame's face and the care in his voice. "Of course not, Naruto. You just care greatly about your friends and place such impossibly large burdens on your young shoulders. I wouldn't be surprised if you blamed yourself for it so much that it felt like you killed him yourself." The Hokage gave the boy in his arms a crooked smile. "You call me old man, but if you keep that up your back will be worse than mine in no time." Naruto didn't reply, his body just shook as he gripped onto the Hokage's robe like it was the only thing keeping him from losing himself. In return, the old man stroked his hair soothingly while whispering comforts into the boy's ear. Eventually the genin calmed down and the questions came rushing into his head. "Aji-chan, what does the Manjaku Sharingan do?" The kindly elder pulled back and ruffled Naruto's hair one last time. "It's Manjikyu, not Manjaku, Naruto. To tell you the truth, I don't really know. My two sensei, the Shodame and Nidame, said that 2 Uchiha during their time were incredibly strong with unique powers. They said they saw these 2 men put people in comas with a glance and had the ability to use fires hotter than anything they've ever felt, and my teachers fought Yotan users." The blonde could hardly contain his excitement as the Hokage's explanation continued. He was considering jumping around the room and celebrating, but he figured that wouldn't be very ninja-like. Naruto turned to face the old Kage with his usual grin spread across his cheeks. "That's awesome, GG, I'm gonna be even more awesome than before. You better start clearing out that desk because I'm coming for that hat soon." Instead of smiling like the old man usually would after the proclamation, a severe frown was directed at Naruto. You should know by now that the number or strength of your techniques isn't the most important thing a shinobi needs. Secondly, I don't want you to use that eye unless you absolutely see no other choice. It was rumored that those Uchiha's eyesight began degrading after they activated the Manjikyu. Also, that is a powerful tool. If word got out you had one, well, it wouldn't be the first time someone was kidnapped for a dojutsu. The chibi Naruto dancing inside the blonde's head suddenly stopped his celebration and a horrified look made its way onto the real blonde's face. What? I don't want Sasuke's eye to go blind, what am I going to do? GG. Naruto began pacing frantically before slamming a fist into his palm. Yosh, I'll just never use it. The Hokage's stern visage melted as he watched the genin's antics. First try reducing the amount of chakra you have running to the eye. He paused as Naruto picked up the mirror and sighed in relief when his eye morphed back to the regular sharingan, except 3 tomo circled the pupil now. Once he was sure the boy's attention was back on him, Sarutobi continued, I also wouldn't recommend never using the eye. You have been given a useful tool and shouldn't shun it. Sasuke gave you his eye to protect yourself and your comrades, so if the situation calls for it I'm sure he wouldn't mind you using the Manjikyu. Just don't overuse it. Naruto rested his chin on his palm and thought about the Hokage's advice before nodding sagely. That makes sense, I wish I was as smart as you, old man. Placing an arm around the blonde's shoulder, Hiruzen started walking them towards the door. I'm not that smart, Naruto. When you've been around as long as I have you just tend to notice things. Also, don't tell any of your friends about the eye, it will only lead to problems and uncomfortable questions. Just say it was a minor complication with the transplant but everything is fine now. Naruto slipped out from under Sarutobi's arm. Okay Gramps, and you're right. You aren't smarter than me, just old. Really, really, old. The genin laughed and dodged a playful swipe of the Hokage's wizened hand. See you later, old man, don't stay up all night doing paperwork. It's not healthy for someone your age. The Hokage followed the genin at a more subdued pace while muttering, just wait boy, you'll get yours too. Sakura could hardly contain her excitement as she practically skipped to the training grounds, ready to show her team how much she had improved. The kunoichi went to the flower shop every day after studying basic first aid for training in the basics of herbology. The genin was mostly learning about the different types of plants and their effects and training to properly mix ingredients without wasting any. According to the Yamanaka, she was a natural and her movements were swift. The teen also trained with Tenten a couple times over the last week and was felt confident enough to use Senbon needles in live training. A smile broke out across the Pinkette's face as she patted her pouch that contained a prototype of a weapon designed by the weapon's mistress. Sakura arrived at the field and to her surprise Naruto was already hard at work doing push-ups. As she got closer she noticed some were tree climbing, several were going over the basic taijutsu kata, and 2 were even playing Chinese checkers. Curious, the kunoichi walked up to her teammate and asked, Naruto, why do you have Kage Bunshins doing all those things? The blonde pushed himself up to his feet and gave the girl a wide smile. Hey Sakura-chan, that's my new training method. I gain all the memories of my clones after they dispel. So by having them train it's like you're doing a bunch of different things at once. Said Sakura, finishing Naruto's sentence. She then stared over at the 2 clones playing the board game. Okay, but why are they playing Chinese checkers over there? Naruto stretched his back while answering, oh, well Hokage Gigi once told me the hardest person to overcome was yourself. Sakura sweat dropped as one of the Kage Bunshin threw the table and board across the field before tackling his opponent into the tree, which caused them both to dispel. He might be on to something there. Naruto sheepishly rubbed the back of his head and changed the subject. So how was your week, Sakura-chan? Sakura sat down and signaled Naruto to sit next to her. Once he plopped next to her she answered, you weren't the only one training hard, I worked my butt off last week and have some new tricks up my sleeve. Oh, what did you learn? I bet it's something really awesome. Sakura smiled at the blonde's childish enthusiasm. Well, a kunoichi has to keep her secrets, but I can give you some hints. I read a lot about medical ninja, started learning how to use a new weapon, added a new facet to my ninja skills, and on top of that I even learned some basic first aid. Sakura lifted her head to see Naruto's expressive blue eyes shone with amazement, and she had to fight down a blush, though her cheeks were still tinged pink. That's so cool, Sakura-chan, you did all that new stuff in a week. I didn't even learn anything new, just did a bunch of basics with Kaka-sensei. Sakura couldn't suppress the blush after hearing Naruto's honest praise. It's not that cool, I only learned the basics too. Sakura's stomach twisted in nervousness as she asked her next question. Actually, Naruto, I was wondering if I could practice some first aid on you. It's hard to see if you're doing it right when practicing with a tree branch. Naruto tilted his head confusedly at Sakura. But I'm not hurt, Sakura-chan, why would you want to practice on me? Sakura's eyebrow twitched as she forcibly suppressed the urge to hit her teammate, knowing it would just make him dumber in the long run. I know that, Baka, but you don't want the first time you use the technique to be on a person that really needs it. Naruto's mouth formed a large O before he answered, no problem, Sakura, I'd love to. He unzipped his orange jacket and tossed it to the side. What do you need me to do? Sakura looked to the ground in embarrassment before saying, well, I'll need you to take your shirt off too. If the girl was looking up, she would have seen Naruto's face light up to a Hinata red as he stuttered and poked his fingers together. I guess I could. Maybe. Sakura lifted her green eyes just as Naruto lifted his shirt. She expected him to be a bit pudgy because of all the calories, carbs, and salts in ramen, but he seemed on the skinny side for a civilian his age. Naruto, do you only eat ramen? If you were a villager I'd say you were in shape, but a shinobi needs to have more muscle mass. Next time you go to the store, get more meats, grains, fruits, and vegetables. The pinkette frowned at the scowl that stretched across Naruto's face when she mentioned the store, noting that it looked quite unnatural after seeing him smile like an idiot for so long. Can you not afford it? The blonde just turned to look across the field as he put his shirt back on. I don't want to talk about it. Sakura just sighed, knowing that even if he was her teammate she didn't have the right to make him talk, especially with how she used to treat him. The kunoichi could only respect his wishes and stare at his back with worry etched across her features. Kakashi stared at the memorial stone, staring at the newest name while contemplating the change in his morning ritual. I guess my luck with the Uchiha clan isn't the best. First Obito, and now Sasuke. The silver-haired man lost track of time as he continued to stare at the stone over his orange book. Eventually he took his gaze off the stone and looked up at the position of the sun. Well, I think they've waited long enough. That was more than enough time to catch up. Instead of using his customary shunshin, Kakashi decided to enjoy the early spring weather and walk. As he lazily strolled, the legendary shinobi thought of the last week and the upcoming ones as well. His blonde student had improved by leaps and bounds and would probably be ready for some jutsu today. The man stopped before deciding to teach him a defensive one to be on the safe side. Kakashi also checked in on Sakura from time to time, and she appeared to have discovered all the motivation she lacked and then some. Still, her chakra levels were below average, and control could only take her small stores so far. The kunoichi would need to raise her chakra capacity before she moved on to more advanced subjects. The real surprise came when the Hokage called him up after the funeral to discuss Naruto's sharingan and described the manjikyu. The one thing that really bothered Kakashi was if Naruto unlocked it, why didn't he? Their situations were remarkably similar, and the man surely blamed himself for Obito's death too. Deciding that there was no use trying to figure things out based on speculation, the Jounin shook the thoughts from his head and noticed that he was nearing the training ground. After snapping his book shut and placing it in its life-proof pouch, the man disappeared in a puff of smoke. He reappeared in front of his two students in a strange situation. Naruto was staring off into the distance, ignoring Sakura, while she stared worriedly at his back. The man was worried he had somehow ended up in some sort of alternate universe when their voices shouted, "You're late, in unison. The Jounin sensei just smiled and was glad that some things still stayed the same. He ignored their false accusation. Kakashi always arrived exactly when he meant to, and gave them the excuse that came to him last night in a dream: "Sorry I'm late, but I saw several chickens crossing the road and I couldn't figure out why." Nobody said it was a good excuse. His students' voices rose in chorus as they yelled, "Liar." Kakashi just continued. Like he wasn't interrupted. "In 1 week we officially start rehab duty, and after some calculations I've found it will take 16 D ranks a week to make what we were on medical leave, so we'll do 3 or so missions a day to supplement our training when that starts." Kakashi unrolled a scroll and another set of weights appeared in a puff of smoke. He shot a warning glance at Naruto before saying, "Put these on and channel your chakra until I say stop." Sakura quickly strapped the metal bands around her wrists and ankles before forming the ram seal and trickling her chakra into them. Once it began to look like she was struggling, he interrupted her. "Okay, stop, that's not bad for now, but it's still pretty light." He inwardly laughed at the look on Naruto's face and Sakura's cheeky mumbling before explaining the rest of her regime. "Okay, now I want you to go over there and do 200 sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups. Then you will run around the field while I throw dodgeballs at you, because as a medic your evasion skills need to be top-notch. After the physical exercise you will continue tree climbing until you can't do it anymore. Then we'll break for lunch and we'll continue training until around 4 and then do our D ranks." His students stared at him with their mouths agape before Sakura managed to say, But we won't be home until like 10. Kakashi rested his chin in his empty hand before nodding sagely, yes. Knowing that their sensei was a stern taskmaster when it came to actually working, Sakura just started her exercises while he turned his attention to Naruto. "I trust you already did your physical regime." After getting a crisp nod, the Jounin tossed Naruto 3 scrolls as he continued, "Good, one of those scrolls contains a chakra control exercise and the other 2 contain a Suiton and Futon jutsu each. They're both low-ranked jutsu, the water is defensive and the wind one is multi-purpose. If you have questions feel free to ask. After lunch we will begin working with the sharingan and continue our clone battles. Now, hop to it." The Jounin stepped back and watched his students work. Sakura appeared to have more energy than usual and he hoped that meant she put an end to her dieting as well. Kakashi shifted his gaze slightly to the left, and Naruto, as expected, had completely ignored the control exercise. Instead he was intently reading the scroll about the water jutsu. Naruto put the instructions down and began going over the sequence several times. Kakashi prepared for some free entertainment, and he wasn't disappointed. The blonde began gathering chakra and rapidly formed the short sequence before slamming his palm into the shallows and yelling, "Suiton, Suijin Hiki, water release, water encampment wall." A jet of water shot into the air and arched over the blonde's head as the sunlight reflected off it. The stream continued on its path before splashing into Sakura as she was doing her sit-ups. Kakashi was in the process of getting his 10 chuckles when the air temperature dipped below freezing. Now it was quite nice for the time of year, in the high 60s and not a cloud in the sky, so the temperature change was unexplainable. The shinobi looked around frantically for the source before an awful killing intent saturated the air. However, that only calmed him down because it was awfully familiar. Sakura rose from the ground in all of her righteous feminine fury. Water dripped down her lithe frame as her eyes shone white with rage and the very air around her seemed to absorb light. The Jounin was reminded of the simpler times when he was a genin, when Kushina thought his sensei had an affair. That was an ugly day for everyone. Naruto shot Kakashi a pleading look and the man only shrugged in return as Sakura yelled, "Shinaro," and sent Naruto skipping across the lake like a stone until a tree came out of nowhere. She stomped away and the blonde pitifully pulled himself out of the water and tossed the Suiton scroll into it before unrolling the water walking exercise. Soon enough 21 blonde genin were trying, and failing, to stand on the water. Figuring now was as good a time as any, the Jounin pulled out Ika Ika and began reading with a perverted giggle. Kakashi led his tired students back to the training field. Sakura had joined in on his and Naruto's game, but she barely did better than the blonde. The pinkette may have been more book smart, but that only allowed her to better understand the parameters they were given. When it came to actually forming the plans, hers were rather cookie-cutter and often lacked that element cunning good plans needed. Naruto on the other hand came up with ideas that weren't lacking in deviousness, but they weren't linked together by an overall strategy and more often than not didn't work to achieve a larger objective. In other words, he reacted more than anticipated and maneuvered. Still, that wasn't even the point of the exercise. Kakashi said that he would answer any question, and that included asking him for ideas. The most important thing that they would learn is to never assume anything no matter how far-fetched. Once that happened, everything else would come in time. Once the trio returned to the field, Kakashi broke down the afternoon. Okay Sakura, our main priority now is to build your chakra capacity. I would teach you water walking, but it wouldn't do anything for your chakra control, so just continue tree climbing. Once you start to get tired, I'll attack you with shuriken and taijutsu, but you have to stay in the trees. Sakura walked over to a patch of trees and Kakashi created a Kage Bunshin that began blowing up a balloon as he turned his attention to his sensei's son. Okay Naruto, we're going to be having another one of our clone battles. I can use 1 shadow clone, 2 water clones, and an earth clone. He took the inflated balloon from his clone and wrapped it in a blanket before handing it to Naruto. You can use 3 Kage Bunshin and yourself. Your objective is to guard that balloon which represents a baby. If at any point during the exercise it pops, you have to join Guy and Lee on their post-pre-breakfast snack, pre-dawn workout. The genin cradled the package tightly to his body and shivered in fear because he knew there was no way to avoid that workout. His sensei was just humoring him. He took off towards another patch of woods and Kakashi's clone platoon followed, eager to use him as a punching bag. Seeing that his 2 students were set, he pulled out the greatest thing since sliced bread and gave a brief thought to the rest of the afternoon. After making sure Naruto didn't just blindly react to what the sharingan showed him, they could work on some basic hypnosis and genjutsu, because God knows how bad he'd be at them without the dojutsu. Then they'd move on to identifying different elemental chakra before studying the flow of it in and out of the body. Kakashi sighed because that was his basic plan with Sasuke before. The Jounin turned his attention to his book before he could mope further because the man had already filled his daily quota. Akiko-chan, you dirty girl, are you really going to do that with Haruo? Sakura watched the sun set and the sky change colors as she walked home. The pinkette let the cool breeze rush over her aching body as she lost herself in thoughts. Today was everything that she expected. It felt good to see Kakashi and Naruto again. At the same time, today was nothing like she expected. Without focusing all of her attention on Sasuke, the kunoichi was able to notice things about her other teammate that she didn't before. The blonde was incredibly open about a lot of things but would clam up about certain subjects or deflect them with a goof moment. Sakura had to stop thinking and wave to Tenten when she heard the brunette's voice, but the older girl had to catch up with her team before she could do anything else. She ignored the shouts of fire and youth that echoed down the street, but realized her train of thought was lost. The pinkette shrugged it off and promised that she'd treat her teammate better and shifted her thoughts to her earlier training. Sakura really wished she didn't hop on the diet trend as a child because she needed every advantage possible coming from a civilian background, but it wasn't anything that couldn't be fixed, especially because she was starting now. It was going to be hard though. The girl couldn't remember the last time she was this sore, but that was palpable proof the kunoichi was on the path to getting stronger and improving her family's lot in life. Naruto looked down at his filthy hands. He knew he was improving a lot, but it still seemed like he was only playing at being a ninja. The shinobi remembered when he soaked his teammate with the water jutsu. Flashback: Naruto stood in the shallows of the lake confident that he understood the basics of the jutsu. After all, that's what he did with the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and he learned that in an hour. The blonde sped through the hand seals and slammed his open palms into the water, causing a wall of it to explode upwards like the scroll said it would. However, the barrier didn't stop at 8 feet. The water arched over the genin's head and he admired the sparkling light shining through it, but then it splashed onto Sakura and he wondered how it didn't freeze on contact because he couldn't stop shivering. A wave bloodlust far greater than any he'd ever known crashed over him and the animals in the training ground fled for safety. Naruto tried to follow but found his legs wouldn't move because his knees were shaking so much. The blonde watched as Sakura stood and water dripped down her body. He gulped after getting a glimpse of her features and tightened his sphincter. Sakura's face was red, not the cute shy blush that he only ever saw around Sasuke, but an angry "I'm going to rip your spleen out your asshole" red. Her eyes shone a demonic white that promised untold pain, and Naruto could do nothing but watch as the terrifying beauty stalked towards him. Naruto quivered in fear and waited for death, but instead a sickly sweet voice reached his ears, a voice that implied if the answer wasn't satisfactory then retribution would be swift and brutal. He pleaded with Kakashi using his eye, but the man ignored him. Knowing there was no help coming, he racked his brain for an acceptable response. Unfortunately for our blonde hero, the answer didn't exist. WLUSC. You looked really hot and I thought you'd like it if I cooled you down. The blonde instantly knew it was the wrong answer when he heard "Shinaro," and her fist slammed into his cheek before it felt like he was bouncing across concrete. The genin opened his eyes and could only see a green and brown blur that was rapidly approaching. After impact, the boy was able to confirm it was a tree before it inexplicably became night and the stars came out. Unbeknownst to him, Sakura just stood on the other side of the pond blushing as inner Sakura said, "Did you hear that? He called us hot, cha." Flashback end. After Naruto dragged himself back to shore, Sakura apologized profusely before lecturing him on using untested jutsu around other people. She then suggested he try controlling his chakra instead of just shoving it into the jutsu and hoping it worked. After realizing the kunoichi was right, Naruto ditched the Suijin Hiki scroll. He was too scarred to learn that jutsu, and opened the water walking one. The boy looked back at his dirty hands and realized it wasn't enough. He was improving, true, but it wasn't fast enough. The genin was behind everyone else after the academy, so he had to step it up. The blonde looked up and realized he was at his apartment building, and before he stepped inside made a silent promise, "From now on it's time to get serious. I'm going to work harder than ever. I'll get up early to work with the Fuzzy Brow group, then I'll work extra hard on my strategy, jutsu and sharingan, and by the end of the week I'll hit a still target in the bullseye 10 out of 10 times." Feeling better, the blonde walked into his building so he could collapse into bed. The next 3 weeks flew for Team 7. Naruto kept his word and trained hard 6 days a week. He would have trained 7, but Sakura, Kakashi, even Guy and Lee insisted that he take at least 1 day to recuperate. Every day after practice the blonde would work with the spandex wearing duo. It was going so well that he increased his weights twice and was learning a new taijutsu style. Guy called it Yuzuken. He said he forgot exactly where he learned it, but it was one of the styles that he based his Goken off of. The premise was to keep your opponent off guard with quick attacks and constant motion. When they did strike, you wouldn't block but try to increase their momentum and put the target off balance, creating openings to strike. It didn't stop there though. When the Jounin demonstrated it on Naruto, he had the genin spinning like a top. The Eyebrow Brigade also discovered Sasuke's gift when his headband got knocked off during a spar, or "getting my ass handed to me by Lee time," as Naruto liked to call it. As soon as they found out, Lee proclaimed Naruto his second eternal rival for having such intense flames of youth. Even Guy cried manly tears because Naruto was learning the style without using the eyes copying ability. Once Naruto was able to use the Dojutsu in spars, his skills with it skyrocketed. He was able to process the information and react how he wanted to instead of blindly following the eye. One time it told him to jump over Lee's kick, but he smashed his head into a large branch above his head. Normally the blonde would have used the tree to dodge, but the eye said it was easier to jump, so he did out of reflex, knowing a branch was above him, and smashed his head. The genin's skill with hypnosis was improving as well, although his genjutsu was still abysmal. And if you add in the fact that he got lunch most days, it wasn't a bad 3 weeks for the blonde. Sakura also managed to stay busy. She learned how to make some non-lethal poisons with Ino's mom, although the Pinkette could only make the liquid ones as of now because they were easiest and safest to work with. But soon she would be able to work with the powdered forms and could branch off into gas from there. Kakashi also said her medical skill was well above the novice level. Currently she was focusing on dodging, improving her accuracy, and strategic thinking while fighting with Naruto's clones. She even managed to slightly increase her weight bands. The kunoichi had also managed to weasel a genjutsu from their sensei and could use Magen, Kokoni Arezu no Jutsu, demonic illusion, false surrounding techniques, well enough to throw off her opponents in spars and create openings. Once she had the stamina to tree walk for an hour and a half. Kakashi said he would find a tutor for the Pinkette. All in all, it was a successful 3 weeks for Team 7 and they were finally ready to resume their duties. Sakura sat in the shade of a large tree in the center of Team 7's new training ground, eagerly awaiting Naruto's return with breakfast. The girl blew an unruly bang out of her face and wondered when she had become so fond of the knucklehead. They just had a half-hour conversation as they waited for their sensei, and Sakura found herself enjoying it. The blonde was a true goofball and it seemed he could bring a smile to her face anytime he wanted. To make things better, he didn't even know the definition of the word judgmental, and for the first time in a while the Pinkette didn't feel any pressure to be a different person. Sakura's laughter tinkled through the clearing. If the 10-year-old Sakura somehow traveled in time and saw her, know she'd get slapped. Actually, the 10-year-old version of the girl probably wouldn't be able to touch her now. The kunoichi had finally begun to take her duties seriously and it seemed her life was improving with her skills. Because of Sakura's new commitment, she made a friend in 1010 and they were quickly growing closer. They would get together and just do normal things when their teams weren't busy, like go get some food, go to the hot springs, or watch an old Princess Gale movie. The girl sighed as she recalled the rumor the next movie that was getting filmed in Yuki no Kuni had gotten cancelled. Perhaps the biggest surprise this past month was Naruto, though that shouldn't be surprising. They switched roles after their first day of training and Sakura followed the blonde around and pestered him about grocery shopping until he caved and introduced her to Gama-chan, who was pleasantly plump from Naruto's savings, and she was given some money for groceries. When Sakura brought the first delivery, she was surprised at the state of Naruto's apartment, mainly the lack of debris covering the floor. The Pinkette was expecting a war zone, but there was no mildew, rodents, cockroaches, odor, or any type of mold. It was just messy. Clothes were strewn about the apartment, gardening supplies for the plants by the window were left haphazardly in random places, and his kitchen was filled with old ramen containers and some dirty dishes. She didn't let him know that she was somewhat impressed and proceeded to scold the boy about bringing guests back to a messy apartment because somebody needed to look out for him. They proceeded to have an impromptu cleaning session and it was actually somewhat fun. Flashback: Sakura looked over at Naruto while he washed the bathroom sink and mirror. They had just finished cleaning the toilet and the Pinkette was cleaning his shower while he finished the other surfaces. The blonde pouted while scrubbing the glass and the Pinkette stifled a giggle. He looked like a petulant child that just got denied a toy. It was actually kinda cute. Sakura was oblivious to the thought as an idea popped into her mind. She plugged the drain and filled the tub with some water. Once it had a decent amount of water in it, the teen cupped her hands and launched some at Naruto. He turned and started grumbling when he saw her smile before turning back around while grumbling. She pouted that he didn't take the bait and reached for the plug, but an arm snaked around her waist while another grabbed her shoulder and began to lower the girl into the tub face first. Deciding she wouldn't go without a struggle, the kunoichi reached back and grabbed the arms wrapped around her and pulled the blonde in two. After throwing their clothes in the washer, changing into some of Naruto's old clothes, and recleaning the wet bathroom, they zoomed through the rest of the house. When they were finishing up and taking care of the blonde's bedroom, he hit Sakura with a pillow while she was making the bed. The kunoichi turned her head and saw Naruto's blue eye gleaming with mischief, so grabbed the other pillow on the bed and let out a war cry before charging. After a brutal and underhanded war, the two fell back onto Naruto's bed laughing. Sakura turned to smack the boy's face with her pillow but gasped and let it go instead. The light from the sunset was pouring in through the windows and covered Naruto like a blanket. His golden blonde hair seemed to glow, and the sweat glistening on his tan skin was highlighted as his chest rose and fell rapidly. He turned to the kunoichi, his blue eye filled with happiness and content, and Sakura fought the urge to stroke his whiskered cheek as her stomach twisted. It wasn't an uncomfortable feeling though. A blush covered the girl's face when the blonde's hand reached up to brush some of the hair away that was sticking to her cheek. "Sorry, that was annoying me." The knot in her stomach tightened even more when something brushed her inner thigh. Sakura looked down to see that Naruto's leg moved in between hers when he shifted. It felt like steam was blowing out of her ears as the kunoichi's brain shut down and she reacted purely on instinct. And slugged Naruto in the face. Flashback and Sakura finally realized what she liked about Naruto: he made the boring and mundane entertaining. Suddenly the sound of footsteps reached the Pinkette's ears and she looked up to see the boy who was occupying her thoughts walking towards her while munching a stick of dango. When Naruto reached the kunoichi, he handed her the bag while saying, "Sorry it took so long, but I was waiting at the bakery for a fresh bag of sticky buns." Sakura's eyes shone with unbridled joy as she pulled one out of the bag and bit into the frosted treat. "He even brought me my favorite breakfast. Yes, Naruto is officially my friend." While nibbling on her delicious bun, the blonde asked, "So what do you think our new teammate will be like?" Sakura licked the frosting off her fingers while pondering. "Well, the next class hasn't graduated, meaning it will probably be somebody off the reserves lists, so they'll probably be older." Naruto tossed the last empty stick of dango over his shoulder. "That sounds right. You're so smart, Sakura-chan. But do you think they'll be a loser? I was the dead last and still managed to pass. What does that say about this person?" The girl let out a sigh. "Don't jump to conclusions, Naruto, you're a special case." Sakura missed Naruto's nervous look as she closed her eyes and savored the next bite of her breakfast. "If you worked as hard as you do now in the academy, you might have been the rookie of the year. Besides, there's a lot of reasons people were in the reserves. Some people lose a team member like us, while others don't pass the test because they don't understand the concept of teamwork and undergo a crash course. For all you know, we'll get an older, stronger teammate, with more experience too." Naruto blushed at Sakura's unintentional compliment as a puff of smoke appeared from nowhere and their sensei stepped out of it saying, "Sorry I'm late, but I was on my way here and I saw an old lady whose rabid dog was stuck in the tree. Naturally I had to rescue it, but before I could give it back to its owner I had to discover the cure so she didn't get infected." Sakura's eyebrow twitched as her and Naruto's voices rose in unison. "Liar." Kakashi ignored the false accusation as his lone eye took in the discarded bags and tears began to stream from it. "Oh, woe is me, my students are too cruel. They get breakfast for themselves and none for their kind and wise sensei." Sakura's response was cut off when a soft voice with no inflection spoke up. "Why didn't you mention anything of this dog to me? Also, why did you not tell them about the mysterious person that was calling your name and caused you to look all over the marketplace for 2 hours?" A pale boy with inky black hair and charcoal eyes stepped out from behind Kakashi. He appeared to be about their age and wore a plain skin-tight black shirt that only had a sleeve over the right arm, gray standard-issue Shinobi pants, a small black backpack, and a ninja pouch secured to his right leg. The boy's dull eyes roved over his two teammates with no interest while they stared curiously. Kakashi took note of the awkward silence and pushed the teens together. "Sakura, Naruto, why don't you two introduce yourselves to the new member of Team 7? Before they could, the boy bowed formally. "Hello, my name is Sai and it is nice to meet you both. I have heard that when somebody is your friend you give them a nickname. If you don't mind, I would like to give nicknames to the two of you as a sign of our new friendship." The teens shared a questioning glance before Naruto shrugged and Sakura replied, "Why not? Having no idea there was a perfectly good answer to that question. Sai gave the two a more thorough inspection. I have also read that you should give nicknames based on physical traits. Sai stepped closer to Naruto and gave him one more look over. I think the perfect name for you would be. Oh, I know, Dickless. Naruto went from smiling to frowning in under a second. It looked like he was going to pummel Sai, so Sakura restrained him. Don't overreact, I bet it's a joke. Right, Sai? She turned to the boy only to see he was ignoring her, and while staring intently, and I shall call you ugly. Now it was Naruto who was holding Sakura back, although she was slowly dragging the blonde across the ground, even though his heels were anchored in the dirt. However, the Jinchuriki's efforts ended when she turned her glare on him and he let go before running behind their sensei's legs in fear. Sakura stopped in front of the pale boy, who might not get paler after she killed him, and spoke in a sickly sweet voice, "That's nice. Now I have something to give you." A plastic smile covered Sai's face, but it was quickly wiped off when "Shinaro" echoed through the village and Sakura's fist impacted with his cheek. Sai flew into the distance till he was a speck on the horizon, and Sakura turned and flashed a victorious peace sign. Later that night many villagers would lay on their rooftops and look for shooting stars because one was visible during the day. Kakashi was standing in front of the memorial stone finishing up his morning ritual. It's been an interesting 2 weeks since Sai was introduced to Naruto and Sakura's fist. The time Team 7 spent together was both amusing and annoying for the different members of Kakashi's squad. The elite Jounin thoroughly enjoyed the nicknames Sai gave to his teammates and the punishment they, mostly Sakura, doled out in return. His favorite blonde and Pinkette were quickly getting to the end of their metaphorical ropes with their socially inept teammate. He even heard something about a great place to hide a body the other day. Sai. He didn't really feel much about his time with Team 7 at all. The problem was the teamwork between the three. Sai viewed his two teammates as tools to accomplish an objective instead of precious comrades, while his two teammates would rather slaughter puppies than work with the frustrating boy. Sai didn't understand emotions and social interaction at all, so he didn't know that his two teammates would get mad at his name-calling. He probably read in some ridiculous worthless book, unlike the one in Kakashi's hand, that teasing was something friends do. Maybe I should give him Ika Ika. Then again, maybe not. I'll save that for when I'm really bored. Sai was constantly criticizing his teammates about every little thing possible. Having bad hair colors for ninjas, Sakura's forehead, Naruto's love of orange, and calling his teammates names constantly. Kakashi had to restrain the other two from physically hurting him too much, and his arms were sore from the constant activity. Sakura drags like an ox. Sighing, Kakashi realized his team was still not ready for a C rank, and the next Chunin exams were being held in Konoha too. It's a great opportunity to take them in front of their families and friends. The way that they're going, they'll miss that chance. Looking at the sun, Kakashi realized he was 2 hours late. Meaning he was right on time. Saying goodbye to his fallen comrades, Kakashi closes the literary masterpiece that is Ika Ika and tucked it safely away into his back pouch before disappearing in his trademark puff of smoke towards the training grounds. Walking towards Ichiraku Ramen was a lone boy in an orange jumpsuit. Normally when going to Ichiraku to eat the food of the gods, Naruto would be skipping with a bright smile on his face, but today was different. He had a large scowl on his face, frustration visible in his lone eye. His hands were stuffed deep into his pocket, and he walked slowly and deliberately with his back hunched, appearing to be deep in thought, which would be surprising to his former classmates. Stupid Sai, how can he call Sakura-chan ugly? She's so beautiful. I can't believe he said that. You're so hideous that you'll have to date a loser like Dickless because no one else could stand a hag like you. He's got a point though. Sakura-chan is so pretty and smart, she can have anybody, so why would she want the village idiot and outcast rolled into one? Sighing, Naruto tried to raise his spirits. That's okay, even if Sakura-chan never returns my feelings, she's my precious teammate and friend, and those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. Besides, it's not like I need a reason to protect her, I want to no matter what. She acknowledged me and helped pull me out of my loneliness. She is one of my precious people, and Uzumaki Naruto protects his precious people. The image of his fallen brother's face appeared in his mind while his shoulders slumped even more. I'm still slacking off, I have to get way stronger, I'm not even close to my goal of being Hokage yet. Well, from here on out Uzumaki Naruto kicks it into high gear, Tebeo. I'll meet bushy brows every day at 5 in the morning to work on my taijutsu and increase my weights till I can't stand again. I'll practice all the hand signs and my jutsu till I can do it in my sleep. I'll improve my chakra control even more too. Now I'll spar on top of water while balancing leaves all over my body. I'm gonna train so hard that no one will be able to stop me, Tebeo. Oh shit, I almost sounded like super bushy brows there. I wonder, are the eyebrows a side effect of the youthfulness disease? Team 7 sat in a circle catching their breath. Kakashi had to go to a jounin meeting and dismissed them for lunch. Usually their sensei would take them out or provide the lunch while gleefully whacking his students over their head with Mr. Twig. Needless to say, they were at a loss what to do without him. I want sushi, it's been too long since I had sushi. That's gross, who wants to eat raw fish? It's all about Ichiraku ramen, Dada Boyo. I really have no preference at all. God, Naruto, whenever we go get lunch you always want to go to Ichiraku. If you don't want sushi, let's go to the barbecue or a place that doesn't serve just ramen. But Sakura-chan, I want ramen, you can have barbecue ramen. Really, Naruto, what do you not get? I just don't want ramen. We went 3 times last week. Regular people like to have something, call it variety in their diet. Why don't we just go to separate places and meet up back here? I don't care what you do, Sai, but I haven't seen Naruto all week, so I want to go get lunch together. Will they even let you into a restaurant? You're so ugly you'd probably scare customers away and make the people inside lose their appetite. Sakura-chan, calm down a little, don't be hasty, if you kill him we could go to jail. Shinaro. Never mind. Hey Naruto, what's that behind your foot? Looking down, Naruto saw a book with a worn green cover and yellowed pages lying by his feet. It had a picture of a boy with silver hair and black eyes on one side, and on the other cover is a picture of what looks like a younger Sai. Opening the book up, Naruto looked shocked. Wow, this is pretty good. Sidling up to Naruto, Sakura looked at the book from under the gap in his arm. Yeah, that's really good. I didn't know Sai was this skilled at drawing, I just figured he could sketch those ink animals that he uses. Hey, check it out, it looks like this boy is fighting a bunch of monsters like it's some kind of adventure. Naruto squinted his eyes and nodded his head. Yeah, that makes sense. Flipping through the pages, Naruto noticed it changed around the middle of the book. Hey, look at this now, it looks like Sai is fighting monsters, what's going on? Sakura looked as she snagged the book and flipped through the pages. No, you're supposed to read Sai's part from this end. See, if you go from the middle he loses weapons, but when you go from the back cover of the book he gets the enemy's weapons like the other boy. So it looks like they would meet in the middle. I wonder if they have to fight. Naruto peered over Sakura's shoulder, their cheeks almost touching. I don't know, that seems kind of dark. A voice interrupted Naruto's musing. May I have my book back? Looking up, Sakura saw Sai standing in front of them. Laughing embarrassedly, Sakura handed over the book. Sure, here you go, but what are you going to draw in the middle, if you don't mind me asking? Sai flipped open the book and looked at the 2 blank pages in the middle. I forgot. The book was originally supposed to be a gift for my Nii-san, but he died before I could give it to him. Naruto got a sad look on his face. I'm sorry, you must have felt terrible. Sai raised an eyebrow at Naruto. What do you mean I didn't feel anything? Ignoring their scandalous looks, he continued, I have no emotions. The pale shinobi received 2 questioning stares until Sakura spoke up. No emotions. What do you mean? It's quite simple, what do you not understand? I feel no emotions. No happiness, sadness, fear, anger, or anything else. Naruto looked shocked at what Sai was saying. Everyone has emotions, Sai, we're humans. Putting the book back in his backpack, Sai stood up. We don't have much time left for lunch. I will go get you ramen and sushi and return to the training field. Watching him walk away, Sakura turned to Naruto with a confused expression on her face and he simply replied, yeah, I know. It's been one long month since Sai's inclusion into Team 7 and Sakura was stretching after a long day of training. I'm surprised at how much better we've gotten this last month. Kaka-sensei actually has to put his book away and use some ninja tools to avoid capture during team exercises now. Sakura changed a great deal in the past month. Instead of her normal red and white dress, she now wears a fitted crimson dress that stops in the middle of her thighs with long wide sleeves that extend over her hands, hiding them from view. Along the edges of the dress there was a pink stripe about an inch thick, and then splitting the dress in the middle on the back and front were another two stripes that split in two as they reached her chest, going down the length of her sleeve, stopping when it met the horizontal stripe at the end of the sleeve. Hidden under her baggy sleeves were two prepared launchers, each holding 5 small senbon needles coated in poison. Around her waist was a pink belt with a crimson bag with small sections holding various types of poison gas pellets. Next to the crimson pouch was a black pouch containing a standard medical field kit. On her legs she had several multicolored senbon holsters, all representing various types of poisons, strapped over black bandages, and Sakura opted to change her red headband out for a black one. The only thing still left from her old outfit was a pair of black spandex shorts that she wore under her new dress. Looking at her teammates as they were sparring, she watched their deadly dance. Sai remained mostly unchanged, except he now had a tipless tanto strapped horizontally across the small of his back. He was busy drawing some type of ink animal to launch at her other teammate, who changed a whole lot over the past 2 weeks. After the combined assault of Sakura's constant nagging and Sai's ridicule, Naruto adopted an outfit with considerably less orange. He now wore a white t-shirt with an orange Uzumaki swirl on the front. Over that he had a loose midnight blue jacket covered in pockets with another orange Uzumaki swirl on the back. He had black pants that stopped just above his ankle with a thin orange stripe going down the sides. On his right leg he had white tape with a blue kunai holster strapped to the outside of his thigh and a similar setup holding shuriken on his left. He also wore an orange belt with a pouch filled with smoke bombs, tear gas, a plethora of explosive notes, and pepper bombs to throw off trackers. They all acquired new skills that meshed well together and practiced several new team formations and maneuvers for different situations. They were quickly turning into cute little killing machines, as Kaka-sensei put it. We may not get along off-duty, but when we get into a fight we handle ourselves pretty well. Naruto takes the front line while Sai gives him direct support, and I hang back, giving a second level of support to both of them with my poisons and genjutsu. We're getting to be a well-oiled machine, and that means another C-rank is coming. Sakura sat nervously recalling the last C-rank mission that ended in tragedy. That was a freak accident, no way anything like that will happen this time. Trying to put the thoughts of Nami no Kuni from her mind, Sakura focused in on her other teammate that came back from the tragic mission. Aside from training and missions with Team 7, Sakura never saw her blonde teammate anymore. Now he's so good with a henge that Kakashi can't detect it, so he goes to the stores in his Oryoku no Jutsu form fully clothed. Truthfully, Sakura missed it. She would come over and cook for him and he would eat it with a smile. Even if Sakura couldn't stomach it, I can make poisons extremely well and I follow the recipe exactly, why doesn't it come out good? Lack of cooking skills aside, Naruto trains before the team even meets up to start their day, and then he keeps training well after even Kakashi-sensei leaves, giving them no chance to get together outside of official duties and training. Hanging out with Tenten is fun, but it's not the same for some reason. Sakura definitely has a blast hanging out with Tenten when her schedule allows it, but neither girl really has any extra money to be throwing away, so they usually just train or hang out at Tenten's apartment. She really does enjoy her time with Tenten, but when she was hanging out with Naruto she could forget that she was a kunoichi trying to advance her place in the world and have fun like a normal teenage girl. sighing as she watched Naruto's clone cut down one of Sai's ink animals while another squad of clones cornered him in preparation for the real Naruto to hit him with a futon, Daitapa ending the spar. Naruto was working himself to the bone and it definitely showed. She lost count of how many times he increased his weights since he got them, and he was also always sending clones off to do weird variations of chakra control exercises, like doing cartwheels up trees while trying to stick as many leaves to himself as he could or sparring on the water against his clones, once again sticking as many leaves to his bare skin as he could. And he doesn't look so malnourished anymore. At least he's still eating healthy. His body's looking much more muscular and much less skeletal. Inner Sakura chose that moment to try to break through the mental barriers surrounding her, damn straight. He's got some steely abs cha. Sakura didn't hear her inner self's attempts to reopen communication and noticed Kakashi waving them in. Finishing up her last stretch, Sakura dusted herself off before jogging over to her sensei. "Alright team, before we dismiss for the day we're going to head in and see if we can get a C-rank mission for tomorrow." Tensing at that, Sakura turned and saw Sai's neutral expression, and Naruto looked excited. That idiot, how can he not be nervous? Doesn't he remember the last mission? Inner Sakura once again tried to voice her opinion. He's too stupid to get nervous, whatever is in his path is just an obstacle on the way to Hokage. Sakura figured that if Naruto had someone to teach him early on and he applied himself, he would have competed with Sasuke for the Rookie of the Year in the academy, but then we wouldn't have been teammates. Shaking that thought away because who really knows? Sakura smiled at her teammates' bravado and feeling slightly bolstered by it as she walked side by side with her two teammates, with Kakashi trailing slightly behind as the new Team 7 went to the missions office to get their first C rank. Since coming together, ready for anything coming their way. Kakashi gazed proudly at his students' backs as they walked to get their mission for tomorrow. The sight of his team coming together almost brought a tear to his eye. They grow up so fast. Naruto absorbed everything he was taught like a sponge. It may have taken a little time to explain something to him, but when finally got it down he understood it inside and out, and then generally takes the concept to an entirely new level. His mother's taijutsu style was perfect for him, and Naruto took to it like a true Uzumaki, getting the basics and learning the ideology of the style incredibly fast. He also learned two more jutsu, one of which is an attack jutsu, and was adapting to his new eye extremely well. He'll probably surpass me. Naruto has the chakra to use the eye far longer than I do. He now had several misdirection genjutsu and had a pretty good handle on hypnotizing people in battle. His blonde genin could easily identify elemental chakra and was starting to make out the flow of chakra, but he can't copy jutsu just yet. Sakura is advancing wonderfully and is well above the level a rookie genin should be in non-chakra related techniques and medical knowledge. The Pinkette has become quite good with poisons and senbon, had a few genjutsu for hiding and misdirection, while her chakra reserves have increased to around the size of an average genin. It was almost time to get her a tutor in medical ninjutsu. Maybe he should try to repair some old bridges for the sake of his student. Even if she doesn't want to see me, I can probably convince her to take Sakura as a student part-time after she meets her. Kakashi couldn't help sigh with his ink jutsu, however it was one of the more interesting and useful techniques he'd seen in his years as a ninja. What he could create was limited by his imagination, and he could do amazing things with his ink constructs given enough time to draw and the right strategy. Kakashi was teaching Sai how to use the tipless tanto that he wore around now, but besides that he didn't have much to teach him as of now. Maybe when he wants to branch into elemental jutsu. Despite the limited teaching, he fulfills his role on the field quite well and is talented at adjusting his strategies on the fly if needed. All of this was expected from a student of Danzo, along with his emotionless demeanor. He has been following Sai closely since his inclusion on Team 7, since Danzo personally trained the pale boy while he was in the reserves and clearly had his claws set deep in the youth. Kakashi followed his new student in the shadows, trying to see what the old war hawk wanted to gain by putting a possible agent on a team with Konoha's resident Jinchuriki. He had witnessed and eavesdropped on several personal meetings between Sai and Danzo, as well as had his nindogs report the contents of some they witnessed, but on the surface the meetings were all on the level. Training schedule, what missions he has done, is he adapting to the new team well, is their teamwork acceptable, is he learning enough from the famous copy Nin, etc. It all seemed menial and boring, but when a person who used to run a clandestine organization that operated outside of the Hokage's jurisdiction, menial conversation could be code for anything. All Kakashi could do was follow his third student around closely, looking for anything incriminating Danzo to bring to the Sandaime. Watching his students' backs as they walked towards their first C-ranked since the last ended in tragedy, Kakashi was debating calling it off because of an ominous feeling in his stomach. He really wanted to continue to shelter his students and keep on training them, but real-world experience was the best trainer. I can't hide them from danger any longer, I just have to have faith in them. And in myself that I can protect them when I need to and train them well for when I can't. Lifting his gaze from the book, Kakashi saw the mission building and walked past his students, leading them in. Walking through an empty waiting room, Kakashi opened the door to the missions office and saw the old Kage was taking a break from paperwork and handing out missions with a girl only a couple of years older than his team, with frizzy blonde hair and a ponytail that was sticking up everywhere. She was wearing a white lab coat and strange glasses with what appeared to be spirals on them. Team 7 reporting for a mission, Hokage-sama. The Hokage straightened in the chair. It appears you're too late, Kakashi, as all of the D ranks have been taken for today. Kakashi nonchalantly flipped a page in his book and responded, that's fine, Team 7 is requesting a C rank. Mission scheduled to start tomorrow, Hokage-sama. Giving them a once-over with his gaze lingering on Naruto, the Hokage asked, Kakashi, you are sure that they can handle a C rank mission? Smiling, Kakashi gave his answer, I have faith in my team, Hokage-sama, I'm sure we can take anything you can throw at us. Giving Team 7 a smile, the venerable old man turned to his assistant, Shiho, please check tomorrow's scheduled C ranks for a suitable mission to assign Team Kakashi. Right away, Hokage-sama. Standing, the now named Shiho moved to carry out her orders and stumbled over the table leg while standing up to accomplish her leader's orders. Blushing in embarrassment, she pushed her glasses up her face. The strange teen scurrying to a seemingly random file cabinet, she opened the second drawer from the top. Shuffling through the contents, she emerged with a scroll labeled with a large C. Giving it to the Hokage, he undid the string and opened it up, scanning the contents. Team Kakashi, your mission is to escort the leader of Taki village hidden in the waterfall, from Konoha back to his home village. Reading the scroll, the Sandaime gave it to Shiho, who delivered it to Kakashi. You leave tomorrow after the farewell ceremony for your client and the council. Be at the gates at 11 o'clock sharp. Dismissed. Upon hearing the dismissal, Kakashi finished scanning the scroll and put it away before turning sharply and leading his students out of the room. When they made it out of the building, Kakashi called for a halt and addressed his pupils, you heard him, team. Tomorrow we escort the new leader of the Taki Shibuki, back to his hidden village. Pack for a 4-day trip and meet at the gates by 11. Team 7 dismissed. Sai watched as the copy ninja disappeared in a puff of smoke after dismissing them. His new team finally got a C-rank mission after a month of training and D ranks. I must contact Danzo-sama for my orders. Making his way down the street he lives on, Sai looks at the apartment building where he resides on orders of his master. It was plain with simple white walls. It had a small living room with a black couch and chair next to an ordinary maple table. The kitchen was also the same sterile white with maple cabinets. The bathroom consisted of a shower, toilet, sink, and mirror, all incredibly simple, and the bedroom just had a futon with a bedside table and closet. The only thing that wasn't plain was the assortment of Sai's paintings hanging mounted walls. Opening the door to his room, he unpacked his smaller everyday backpack and laid the contents on his bed. After adding more clothes, ninja supplies, and rations to the pile, Sai packed his gear into a larger backpack made for missions. Going into his closet, he pulled out his green tent and strapped it to the backpack before placing his pack on the door by the floor. Sitting down at his table, he pulled out a drawing that he was working on. Losing himself in his art, when he finally looked up, he noticed that the sun was much lower in the sky. Knowing that it was time to make contact, Sai walked over to his fridge. He opened the door and his hand moved towards the red carton of milk inside. Reaching behind it, he grabbed a small, prepared scroll and moved it into his sleeve as he pulled the carton out of the fridge. After pouring himself a glass and drinking it, Sai went to the only room in his house with no windows, the bathroom. Opening the scroll, he revealed a splotch of ink that took up nearly the entire scroll. Making a hand sign, he placed his palm on the scroll and the ink started moving. It slowly snaked its way off the paper and formed into a mouse standing at attention next to the scroll. Giving the ink animal a nod, Sai turned around as the ink construct ran off towards a crack in the wall and disappeared. Sai flushed the toilet and turned on his sink and washed his hands. After cleaning the ink off himself, Sai left the bathroom and once again ventured out of his house to go get dinner. The stars were out and moon poking out above the horizon when Sai returned home. When he walked in the door, Sai noticed the empty scroll that he left open behind his large pack had writing on it. Pretending that something fell out, he rolled up the scroll and sealed it before packing it in his bag and zipped it up securely. Feeling no satisfaction for completing his assigned task, Sai turned his lights out and went to bed, ready to carry out anything that his master ordered, but that was a tool's job after all. Outlying the suburbs on the west side of Konoha sat a modest two-story gray house with white shutters. It had an average-sized lawn with Japanese snow bushes alternating with barberry bushes forming a perimeter around the yard. Inside the barrier there was a small koi pond along a gravel path that led to a small deck and an ornate front door. Looking closely at the gravel path, there was a small black blob running up it. The small splotch then jumped up the steps to the porch and squeezed under the front door, entering the house. Once inside, the mouse scurried up the oak trimming to the second floor, where it once again squished itself under a door. The room it entered was lined with shelves filled with scrolls and books on many different subjects. There were no windows in the room, it was lit by candles and mirrors placed at strategic spots to spread light around the library. There was a large wooden desk in the center of the room with several books scattered on the top and a man writing a haiku onto an empty scroll with a walking cane perched on his chair. He had a wrinkled face with dark gray hair that poked out above white bandages that wrapped around his forehead and right eye, while his other eye was a cold charcoal. He wore a black hakama that only covered his right arm and came up above his shoulder, covering the right side of his neck up to his jaw. On the left side of his torso you could see he was wearing a white kimono underneath the black hakama. Looking up at the scurrying noise, he watched as the mouse climbs up his desk and comes to a stop in his work area, sitting as if waiting for some food. Rolling up the scroll he was working on, the old man put it away and he pulled out an empty ink jar, a clean brush, and a new scroll. The bandaged elder watched as the mouse walked over to the empty inkwell as its form lost its coherence. Once the ink construct got close enough to the inkwell, it jumped in, losing its form completely, turning back into ink. The elder dipped his brush into the well and began to write on the empty scroll before him. Once he finished, he cleaned off the ink brush, capped the well for future use and made a hand sign. Channeling his chakra into the scroll before him, the writing began to run into itself and the river of ink once again turned into a mouse, though this one significantly smaller. Scurrying down the desk and back from whence it came, the one-eyed man once again marveled at the usefulness of his tool's jutsu. He was a good investment of time. Leaning back slightly in his chair, the elder began the waiting game, seeing how his plan would be carried out. Everything was working out so far. He made sure to tell his pawn to actively hamper Squad 7's teamwork for 2 weeks before using another 2 to form a cohesive unit. It worked flawlessly as the young fool leading the weak and pathetic hidden village Taki finally made his scheduled visit and was ready to go back home. Danzo timed it perfectly as Team 7 was ready for a C rank just as the whelp was returning to his pathetic hidden village. And because Danzo knew that Team Kakashi always got their missions after training was completed for the following day, so they got the first pick of missions. Danzo then had his tool working in the mission's office slip the mission into the appropriate spot so Team 7 would be assigned the mission to guard Shibuki. The possibility for combat on it was low, making it the perfect mission to send a team fresh off medical leave on to get them back into the swing of things. Yes, you old monkey, you played right into my hands. I'll make sure that Konoha is safe from any threat, even the dangerous Uchiha Madara, with or without your approval. All the pieces were on the table and now Danzo could only wait to see how they played off each other. Kakuzu launched a futon, Shinku Renpa, wind release, serial waves, and watched as they sliced through his accomplice and their quarry, killing them both. Fuki was a capable partner using high-level fire jutsu with ease. She was then able to control the smoke generated from her jutsu to block her opponent's vision or disorient them before making a quick kill while they were distracted. Once Kakuzu saw her suffocate a man with nothing but smoke after she finished playing with him. The ancient ninja always told her, "If you get in my way I'll kill you myself," and he did just that. Fuki was blocking the line of sight of Yamada Akihiro, Iwa's steel gate, making him vulnerable to an attack from Kakuzu's position. He could have aimed under his partner, but the hit wouldn't have been fatal and the man would have just used his jutsu to grow a working steel leg. Iwa's steel gate was definitely a formidable opponent, able to use the deadly Kanton, metal release, quite effectively and snuffed out all of Fuki's Katan jutsu before trapping her in a cocoon of solid metal. He was about to drive the metal spike that used to be his hand through her face, but he was stupid enough to assume that Kakuzu wouldn't get involved because Fuki wanted to cut loose and handle him herself. "I cut her loose alright, head dumb bitch. Seriously, how can high-level shinobi be so stupid? Losing sight of a threat while battling is a genuine mistake at my level of combat." Looks like Fuki just turned into another payday for the Akatsuki as well. Pain is going to bitch me out though, since that's the third one I killed. Opening his black cloak covered in red clouds, he held his hand in front of his stomach and it appeared to open as tentacle-like things burst through, holding a glass gourd shaped like an hourglass with a stopper on top. Looking at gourd, he shook it around, noticing there was only just enough left. Holding it up to his lips, he tilted his head back until he drained the contents before throwing it over his shoulder. Kakuzu then faced the two bodies and spoke to no one in particular. "I have to find the nearest bounty station to get my money, and then I'll be taking a trip back home for the first time in almost 100 years. Bending down, Kakuzu grabbed Fuki and Akihiro's hair and began dragging them to the nearest bounty station, leaving a bloody trail. The sun was almost at its zenith as it shone down over Konoha. 5 figures stood in front of the guard booth waiting for their passes. Upon receiving them from the guards, a tall man with silver gravity-defying hair handed the passes back out to the others. There was a pink-haired girl, a blonde boy with whisker marks, a pale-skinned black-haired boy, and a man who appeared to be in his late teens or early 20s. He had brown hair that fell past his shoulders and a blue headband adorned with the symbol of Taki holding up his bangs. The young adult wore a blue-green shirt with a high collar and black stripe running up the middle. He had a steel shoulder pad on his left and a brown belt that ran diagonally across his front and back while going under the shoulder pad. He wore silver pants with a kunai holster on his left leg and brown fingerless gloves protected his hands. The silver-haired man appeared to address his companions, and as soon as he finished they disappeared in blurs, venturing out of Konoha. Here is Chapter 5. People and Team 7 gets ready to venture to Taki. It won't be much like canon where Suion tries to steal the hero water. Kakuzu gets involved, and what does Danzo plan to do in Taki? Thanks for all the support I've received, but if you want me to improve my writing style I'll need reviews to tell me how it's done. I've decided that if you give me a good review that helps me improve the writing quality of the story, I don't need ideas for it, got plenty of those, then I will answer any one question about the story. It's been 2 hours since Team 7 and Shibuki left behind the giant gates of Konoha. Traveling at high speeds, they were making great progress as they hopped through the trees towards Taki no Kuni. As they propelled themselves through the branches of the canopy, the colors merged together, passing them in green and brown blurs. Panting a little bit as fatigue set in from the fast-paced Shibuki looked at the genin members of Team 7 and was surprised and a little impressed to see the pace hadn't visibly affected them. When he first saw the legendary Kopinin Hatake Kakashi himself appear in a puff of smoke, he was feeling quite confident that any trouble that came their way would be swiftly and lethally dealt with. Then, after the living legend confirmed everyone was in formation as they traveled through the trees, he pulled out Ika Ika Paradise and hasn't lifted his head up since. It wasn't very comforting that the jounin in charge of protecting him was more interested in porn than remaining vigilant, but it was slightly impressive that while jumping through the treetops he hadn't been touched by even a stray twig. Hearing a loud roar echo through the forest, Shibuki froze and missed the branch he was aiming for. Luckily he managed to grab a different branch in his descent, otherwise he would have surely hurt himself. I would have been easy pickings in an ambush if I fell while moving this speed. I have to be more careful. It worried Shibuki slightly though that his front line of defense happened to consist of 3 genin, even if they were trained by a legendary ninja who really didn't live up to the hype in person. What if we're ambushed by bandits and that pervert gets impaled by an arrow because he was looking at erotica, or a rogue ninja wants to capture me and ransom me back to Takigakure? Hopefully they attack the Konohanin first and I can make my escape in the chaos. That should work. Looking at the 3 greenhorn ninja, he was less than impressed. The girl is really skinny, and what kind of ninja has pink hair? Has she ever heard of hair dye? That blonde genin might have some serious issues, copying a copycat. That just cuts his vision in half for no reason, and if he's bad enough to lose the eye on genin level mission, he's a hopeless ninja. Then there's that strange pale kid that obsesses over his teammate's penis and calls the girl on his team ugly. She may have a larger than average forehead and probably is a worthless kunoichi, but she's still kind of cute, not some hideous raging beast. I'm definitely sleeping with my back against the side of my tent tonight. That kid gives me the creeps. Shibuki was broken out of his thoughts when the blonde-haired kid landed on a rotten branch that snapped and he kept going face first into the trunk of a rather large tree. OW. Son of a bitch, that fucking hurt. Great, the blonde kid just alerted everyone in a 5-mile radius of our presence. Sighing, Shibuki watched as the girl rushed over and made sure he didn't break his nose or hurt himself too badly. The pale homosexual soon followed the pinkette over and broke in with another one of his comments. At least you don't need to worry about his penis being damaged when you heal him because it's so small, right troll? Shibuki felt a killer intent so thick he almost voided his bowels. Oh man, I gotta get out of here now. That's bad news. Whoever is emitting that is on a whole nother level. Looking at the Kopinin, he saw him lazily flip a page in his pornographic novel and take a large step to the left. The reason soon became apparent as Shibuki heard a sudden "Shinaro," and the pale kid turned into a rainbow rocket and flew through the Kopinin's former position as the killing intent suddenly vanished. Feeling like he just dodged a date with the Shinigami himself, Shibuki could only think for fear of reawakening the demon. That pink-haired girl is really, maybe that pale-haired kid is right about her being some type of monster. Sai rubbed his sore jaw as Kakashi stopped the group. Okay team, that's enough for one day. It's going to be dark in about an hour and you guys don't have a lot of experience camping, so we'll stop here for the night. Kakashi then turned to Shibuki. We are about an hour away from Takigakure, so you are more than welcome to continue by yourself to your village. In fact, I'm sure it's possible to make it while there is still daylight if you hurry. Getting a fearful shake of the head from the cowardly leader, Kakashi began to address his team once more. Sai, I want you to set up your Sakura's and Naruto's tents. Sakura-chan, if you could please get some firewood for the night, and Naruto, I would like for you to catch some dinner. Sai nodded along with the other 2 genin, and as they went about their tasks, Kakashi pulled out his worn orange book. Sai finished setting up the tents quickly and Sakura returned shortly after, her arms filled with enough wood to start a fire and maintain it through the night. After they got a passable grade on the fire from Kakashi, Sai commented to his teammate, "It's a good thing that you didn't go catch the food." Her face adopting a questioning look, and Sakura asked, "Why's that?" Her voice then changed, taking an angry tone as she continued, "Is it because I'm a girl so automatically I can't be good at hunting?" Putting on a fake smile, Sai responded, "No, that's not it. You are so ugly that the animals would spot you a mile away and run away in terror thinking you were an ogre." Kakashi grabbed onto Sakura's shoulders as she began to walk forward, dragging her sensei's heels, leaving 2 small ruts in the ground. "Sai, maybe you should make yourself scarce before I let go. I don't want to injure my reading arm, so I can't hold up Ika after all." Listening to his sensei, Sai walked into his tent and opened his backpack before pulling out some scrolls to draw sentries to help him for his inevitable watch tonight. As he opened his tent and made his way over to the fire, Sai saw Shibuki still struggling to set up his own tent. Maybe if he wasn't casting frightened glances into the woods constantly, he would be doing a better job. Danzo-sama is right, Taki is a pathetic hidden village, but I wonder what he wants from them. What could that village possibly possess if a cowardly moron like this leads them? Such thoughts are frivolous anyway. A tool does not question its orders, its only purpose is to accomplish them efficiently. Sai then shifted his attention back to his drawing, waiting for his dickless teammate to return. It was about half an hour later and the sky was turning purple and pink as the sun was quickly sinking below the tree line when Naruto burst from the dense woods with a clone trailing behind him. They were carrying 2 rabbits and several small pheasants, skinned, plucked, and butchered, ready to be roasted. Sai put the scrolls away in his tent and rejoined his teammates and client by the fire. After Kakashi finished seasoning the meat with some herbs, Naruto found he put the meat on sticks and positioned them above the flames. As Sai watched the meat cook over the fire and noticed his squad members were acting different than they normally do. Kakashi wasn't reading porn and his loud teammates were unusually quiet. They had strange looks on their faces, looks that Sai has never seen before in his life, and the air felt somehow different or off in some strange way around the 3. "Why are you 2 morons so quiet? Usually you try to alert everyone around us of our presence in the area." All 3 looked down at the ground with different expressions. Naruto looked guilty, Sakura regretful, and Kakashi appeared ashamed. Before he spoke up, it was because Sasuke was the best cook and usually ended up preparing the meals for us whenever we did survival exercises. Shibuki interjected from the side, "Wait, you had another student?" Sakura looked up at the night sky as she answered, "Yes, we had a mission go wrong and he died because he didn't receive medical treatment in time." Kakashi picked up where Sakura left off when she looked back to the ground, and Shibuki looked as if he wanted an explanation. "It was our first C-rank mission. We encountered rogue Shinobi of Kirigakure and former member of the 7 Swordsmen Momochi Zabuza and his apprentice while guarding a bridge builder named Tazuna. They were ordered to assassinate the old bridge builder by a man called Gato, who ruled Nami no Kuni with an iron fist. He wanted to kill Tazuna because the man's bridge was a threat to his power over the island nation. Instead of pulling back, we continued on the mission even though the client intentionally mislabeled it a C-rank due to the nation's lack of funds, and it was during our second encounter that Zabuza's apprentice wounded Sasuke while he defended Naruto. Sasuke then died a couple of days after the battle from complications relating to the injuries he received. Sai then joined Team 7 when we returned, and this is our first C-rank as a unit. No need to worry though, there are no threats that are targeting you specifically, Shibuki, so the chance of combat is incredibly low, and if we run into any trouble on the way, my team operates at a higher level than expected. I'm sure they can handle it." The pale youth watched as Naruto and Sakura smiled at Kakashi as he turned the sticks around, putting the raw side of the meat directly over the fire. Sai sat there trying to digest the information while the food cooked. "I don't understand, why are they acting this way? He died doing his duty in Konoha, became stronger after the mission, isn't that the purpose of Shinobi?" Sai decided to voice his questions to his teammates. "I am confused, perhaps you could explain it to me, but why are you acting this way because of Sasuke's death? He died in the service of Konoha and increased its power internationally as a result of the mission. Nami no Kuni is now a large trading partner and client of Hai no Kuni and Konoha since the mission was completed. Raising his eyebrow in surprise at his student's knowledge and callous statement, Kakashi was about to respond when Naruto suddenly grabbed Sai's collar with his left hand and raised his right in a fist, prepared to strike the emotionless boy, only for Kakashi to grab his wrist before he could begin the punch. As the silver-haired man pulled Naruto away from Sai, he began to talk in a low, angry tone, his lone blue eye frosty with rage. "I won't let you say that about Sasuke and dishonor his sacrifice like that. Sasuke and I were brothers in all but blood. We were best friends and he got injured protecting me because of the bond that we shared. Sasuke took the hit meant to put me down and got hurt because he wanted to protect our bond, not because it was for the sake of the mission. When we first met and became Team 7, Kaka-sensei said, those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Here on Team 7 we look out for our teammates. Maybe you should understand what that means before you say you are a member of our squad." Sai sat down more confused than before, trying to comprehend what he just heard as Kakashi spoke up, although he said it a little harshly. "Naruto is right. We look out for each other on Team 7, and now that you are a member of it we all have to watch each other's backs. Even if you accomplish the mission, it is still a failure if a comrade dies during the process. That was one of the lessons taught to me by my sensei, the Yondaime Hokage." Sai just felt even more perplexed after that. How can a mission be a failure if you completed the objective? Is this what having bonds is all about? Are they sad because of the bond they lost when Sasuke died trying to protect it? Sai accepted his food robotically and ate while deep in thought. The campfire was strangely silent after the intense discussion, and it wasn't broken until Kakashi spoke up after everybody finished eating. "Alright team, we'll assign guard duty like this. Naruto will take first shift, Sakura second, Sai third, and I'll go last. It is roughly 9 o'clock now and I would like to leave at dawn, which is at around 7. That gives us 10 hours to split between us, so we will all have 2.5-hour long shifts. I suggest you get to bed because we will have another long day of travel tomorrow." Standing after his sensei finished, Sai went to his tent to sleep and wait for his shift. It was dark when Sai heard his tent getting zipped open and a voice broke the stillness of the night. "Sai, it's your shift, get up." Pulling off his covers, Sai grabbed his 2 prepared scrolls and responded, "Got it," before exiting the tent. Sakura was disappearing into her tent as he sat by the fire and opened the scrolls he drew earlier. Placing them on the ground, he made a hand sign and pressed a palm on each scroll. Then dozens of mice and several owls formed from the scroll and scattered around the woods near the clearing as Sai sat looking at the fire. When 4 mice returned and verified that his teammates and Shibuki were all asleep, Sai reached into his pack before pulling out the scroll with the instructions given to him by Danzo. Making sure the seal wasn't broken, Sai sliced through the cord and wax seal before rolling it open. "Sai, here are your orders to be carried out on this mission. Send an ink clone to look for the Jinchuriki of the 7 tails in Taki's possession. I have received information that it lives outside of the village in exile, sworn to protect the village from all threats. Tell her that she does not need to live like that any longer, and Konoha offers her asylum. She will be able to live as she likes until I need her for the occasional mission. Tell her to go to the coordinates listed at the bottom of the scroll if she is interested. She will have 2 weeks after you deliver the message to respond. Also, I have hired an outside agent to procure the hero water from the hidden village. You shouldn't even see the actual village itself, so this shouldn't affect your mission in any way, but if for some reason you have to get involved, do whatever it takes to maintain your cover, but do not hamper the operation if you can avoid it. Here are the terms of the bargain and how I wish you to go about delivering it to the Jinchuriki." Sai read the rest of the scroll and, making sure he memorized the bottom section word for word before he threw the scroll into the fire and pulled out a blank one along with his ink. Dipping his brush in, he began to paint what appeared to be a drawing of himself. Animating the chakra-infused ink, an exact copy of Sai appeared in front of him before splitting into the forms of various animals that silently slinked into the surrounding forest. His task completed, Sai waited for the end of his shift before waking his captain and returning to sleep. If someone happened to stumble into this clearing, a highly unlikely event, then they would have happened upon a picturesque view. There was a large boulder in the middle of a wide stream that wound its way through the dense forest. The stars were easily visible in the wide clearing, and it appeared as if the moon was shining onto the large boulder just to illuminate the figure lounging on the top of it. She was very stunning with her dark tan skin, exotic mint green hair, and striking solid orange irises. She was slightly shorter than an average woman and wore a short cream-colored strapless top that stopped just below her breasts, showing the fishnet that she wore underneath. The top had no sleeves, instead there were two long cream-colored arm warmers that exposed her upper arm and shoulder with a black headband adorned with the symbol of Taki above the right sleeve. She wore a mini skirt the same color as the rest of her outfit with fishnet showing through a slit on her right leg. She had a small chest and shapely legs with a large red cloth container on her back supported by two straps criss-crossing over her shoulders and under her arms. She appeared to be 17 at the oldest, though she couldn't tell you her real age seeing as she stopped keeping track of time long ago. The mysterious beauty sat peacefully on the rock with her head tilted back admiring the heavens. Fu knew that there was something strange going on. She recognized Shibuki's chakra with 4 other unrecognizable ones, though one felt strangely familiar to her even though she was sure she has never seen that blonde genin before. That wasn't what was strange though. There was a chakra source eerily similar to the black-haired boy's, except it felt weaker and was spread all over the forest, and one of these signatures was stationary within 500 feet of Fu's clearing. She sat patiently as the many chakra signatures came together around the one closest to the clearing. Fu waited knowing that whatever it was couldn't kill her, and after about 10 minutes a young dark-haired boy stepped into the clearing and Fu knew she was dealing with a clone by the signature. Fu sat back keeping a wary eye on the clone, waiting for it to do whatever it came here for. After ignoring the clone for 5 minutes it became apparent that he was waiting for her to begin, so she obliged him, hoping to make him leave faster. Fu wishes to know why you have sought her out. She likes looking at the stars alone and doesn't want your company. Not reacting to her weird style of talking, the clone began speaking as she looked back towards the sky. I am a tool for my master and I am here on his orders. He knows that you were made to live out here by the people of Taki alone and are called a monster by those very same people, and yet you are expected to protect them with your life. My master wishes to make you an offer that you might prefer over your current situation. Not bothering to look back down, the exotic girl responded after an awkward silence, Fu does not like people and doubts she would care to meet your master or hear his offer. Once again showing no frustration by her seeming lack of interest, the ink construct continued, he offers you a new start and purpose at life. You are expected to save these pathetic people from any and all threats, and here you are isolated from the village you protect and the citizens of the village that you put your life on the line for, and get no rewards, pretends you don't exist, like a dirty little secret. If you come to the coordinates on the scroll I have, then you will be able to live inside the village and no one shall know you are a Jinchuriki. The only thing you must do in return is be the village's hidden protector. My master watches over Konoha from the shadows like a true ninja, and he offers you the opportunity to live a normal life of your own choosing. You may choose any profession, you shall have a job and live any lifestyle that you want with the money we shall provide you. The only time you will be asked to leave that life is when he needs you for a mission. We can cover for your absences and no one will suspect a thing. Taking out a scroll, the ink clone placed it on the ground. That is my master's offer to you, accept it or not. Here are the coordinates for you to take. You have 3 weeks before those coordinates become worthless, so make your decision before then. Glancing at Sai out of her strange orange eyes, Fu spoke up, Fu will consider your offer, but she tires of your presence. As she finished speaking, a large horned beetle around 6 feet in length and 4 feet tall exploded from the shadows of the forest and split the clone in half, leaving a puddle of ink in middle of the clearing. It is an interesting offer, but what should Fu do? As she spoke out, 6 other monstrous figures emerged from the undergrowth and Fu jumped on the largest. It was about 8 feet long and had 2 monstrous club-like arms that could easily crush a fully grown man protruding from the front of its praying mantis-like torso. The torso was about 3 feet long and attached to a rear end that was about 3 feet across at its widest point and about 1.5 feet thick. The rear of its body is shaped like a teardrop and about 6 feet long with an 8-foot-long whip-like tail protruding off the end of the creature's body. It was a faded dark green color and the creature opened its jaws revealing a large cavern-like mouth, easily wide enough to swallow a man, with a pulsating throat that surely led to a painful and gruesome death. Surrounded by equally terrifying and large insects, Fu spoke out, "Fu thinks we should return to our nest and think this over." With that simple sentence the tan beauty disappeared with the 7 beasts. Sitting in the center of a group of 11 other shinobi was a tall, fearsome-looking man. He wore a dark yellow bandana over his brown hair making it frame his head much like a lion's mane. He had a sharp angular face with almond-like eyes at a sharp angle with small beady black irises giving him a menacing appearance. He wore a plain black long-sleeve shirt with a zipper going up the front with matching black pants and ninja sandals as well as a kunai holster strapped to his right leg. Once he was sure everyone had their attention on him he began. "We have 12 people and will divide up into 3 groups of 4 to complete our mission. The first team shall be Team His Aim." At this an attractive kunoichi with brown shoulder-length brown hair with a white headband holding up the front of it stepped forward. She was wearing a light pink tank top with a mint green zip-up shirt with long wide sleeves and large white collar. The shirt was barely zipped up showing her ample breasts and the shirt is short enough to show off her toned stomach. She was also wearing tight blue jeans with a kunai holster strapped to her right thigh. Addressing the kunoichi Suian said, "His Aim, you and your squad members shall move with my team through the main entrance of the village before we split off and your team goes to retrieve the hero water." The brunette kunoichi bowed on one knee to the speaker and said, "I shall not let you down Suian-sama." Giving the woman a nod Suian turned back to the crowd. "The second team shall be Team Kirisame." At this a man about 5 feet 7 inches stepped forward. He wore a black face mask similar to Kakashi and a matching bandana that covered his hair except for 2 long tufts of brown hair sticking out of the bandana on either side of the metal plate on the bandana with an aim symbol. He was wearing a black spandex shirt underneath a light purple t-shirt and a purple tank top over the shirt with a scarf wrapped around his neck the same purple as his tank top. He had a black belt tied around his waist with purple pants and sandals that also match his tank top. "Kirisame, right before we swim through you will sneak in through the secret entrance with your team and create a diversion in the village proper. It is important that you don't overextend yourself for the first 10 minutes until support arrives. Oh, by the way, you can kill as many people as you want, especially civilians. Fight in populated areas so the ninja have to protect the civilians and defend against you at the same time splitting their focus. That should make them hold back when they attack and allow less of them to pursue you." The mask on Kirisame's face shifted upward and his lips became visible as he smiled widely. "This mission sounds like fun already." Ignoring his bloodthirsty subordinate Suian turned back to the crowd. "Murasame, you're with me as the vice captain to Team Suian. Your skills will work very well for our task." At this a man with silver hair spiked like Naruto wearing a black headband also sporting the symbol of aim. Sticking out under his headband were 2 large shocks of hair that looked like overgrown sideburns as they framed his slender face and prominent round chin. He wore a black spandex muscle shirt and yellow sleeves similar to Zabuza's with silver pants. "We shall come in the main entrance with Team His Aim and split off after we emerge. After we enter and split up our team shall go and support Team Kirisame from the shadows, silently killing ninja as they react to the attack. Once Team His Aim has the water they shall launch a prepared explosive to the cavern and it shall collapse some of the mountain as we make our escape. The rest of you know which team you are assigned, and hour after dawn is when Team Kirisame launched the attack. Any questions?" One of the other 8 ninja in the standard uniform of Hanzo's personal guard that consists of steel gray pants, black sandals, and a silver-blue shirt with rebreathers and black bandana that covered their hair asked, "How much do we get paid for this?" Suian scoffed at the expendable morons. TCH, you were just some rogue ninja we picked up when you begged us for some work. Personally, I think my regular team could get this done without you 8 more efficiently, but you just add the manpower that allows me to give a grand hello to my old village, so shut up and do as you're told, and if you don't die I might pay you. If I don't, then be thankful I fed you this last week." One of the nin angrily responded, "Hey, you can't treat us like that, we were part of Hanzo-sama's personal guard. We wouldn't be working with rogue trash like you if that lunatic rebel leader didn't kill him and then start to massacre anyone associated with the dead salamander. If anything, we should kill you after you show us the way into the village and sell the hero water ourselves." As they said that, his aim, Kirisame, and Murasame surrounded the 8 ninja in a triangular formation before forming matching strings of hand signs and intoning Suiton, Suiben, water release, water whip, at the same time. After the 8 ninja were bound by the liquid whips, the 3 channeled lightning chakra into the whips, shocking the 8 bound men into submission. Suion walked up to the downed group of ninja and spoke to them in a cold tone, promising no mercy. "Consider this your only warning. If I even think you 8 are betraying me, you will die slowly and painfully. Hanzo was a paranoid old fool, and you were probably only his personal guard because you were so weak and he didn't need to worry about you betraying him. No ninja worth anything would talk about killing their allies in front of said allies. The only reason that you are still alive is because much like Salamander Hanzo, I don't think of you as a threat." With that, he walked away from the downed men as his subordinates released the water whips. The 8 ninja lay there panting and moaning in pain well into the night as the other 4 retired to their tents with kunai hidden under their pillows. Kakashi flipped another page in Ika Ika Paradise as the first rays of light turned the morning sky a brilliant orange. The sun was not yet over the horizon, but Kakashi wanted to get out of the area before the flaming disk was fully visible above the tree line. Sometime during the night shift, Kakashi got the feeling that they were being watched, and if there was one thing he learned about being a ninja since he started his career at 6 years old, it was to always trust your gut, even if your brain tells you not to. He gave no outward sign that the feeling was festering in his stomach as he continued to read his Ika Ika, but his other 4 senses and chakra sensing abilities were being pushed to the limit, trying to find the intruder. Kakashi continued to search through the night and never found any trace of any person in the area that could be watching them, which only worried him more. "I know that we are being observed, this feeling is too familiar in my stomach for us not to be. The only thing out there though is some wild animals, and none of them are in position to be observing us. It's quite a feat to be able to hide from me. If I really wanted to find you, I'm actually slightly impressed. There are jutsu that allow a person to observe from a distance, like the Sandame's crystal ball, but those are incredibly difficult to create and only work in a specific area, so that's doubtful. Why do I have a feeling today is going to be a long day?" Standing up from his position by the fire, Kakashi moved to rouse his companions without looking up from his porn. Whatever was observing them, Kakashi wanted to flush it out by getting on the move. Pulling out a large cowbell from a scroll, he began to ring it and shouting to his sleeping students, "Okay, my cute little minions and what's his face, time to wake up." He kept ringing the bell while taxing his 6 senses to the maximum. "Damn, I still can't find anything. I was hoping doing something like that would at least make him shift a little." Watching as 3 tents unzipped and his male traveling companions emerged, Sai walked out looking the same as always, like he didn't just wake up, and the same neutral expression on his face. Shibuki came out next with his hair sticking out everywhere, framing his face, making him look like a frilled neck lizard. He was already wearing his clothes and stumbled towards the river with a towel and toothbrush. Naruto emerged next wearing black sweatpants and a white wife beater. He was still wearing the ridiculous walrus nightcap Kakashi gave him years ago, imbued with seals to protect him from the nightmares he used to experience as a child. Smiling as his student rubbed the sleep from his one visible eye and put a kettle on the fire, "I didn't expect him to be one of those I need tea people in the morning." He emerged from his tent a couple minutes later holding a ramen packet, and Kakashi sighed, "At least Naruto isn't that unpredictable, only he would eat ramen to start his day." His blonde student finished breakfast, changed, and took care of his other morning rituals before his cute little assassin emerged from her tent all dressed, but she did not appear ready for the day at all. Her hair was quickly smoothed down, leaving areas sticking up, and her eyelids were drooping as if she was fighting to stay awake. While walking on her way out to the river with a pack, Sakura managed to stop and mumble out, "Naruto tea. In my pack in tent." Finishing her request, she continued on her way to the river. Naruto nervously made his way toward Sakura's tent and hesitantly stepped inside the opening. Kakashi continued reading until he heard Naruto's voice muttering so low he doubted Shibuki and Sai heard anything. "Oh man, Sakura-chan's panties, holy crap, it's just a little string and they're so soft. Hey, good one Naruto, come to the dark side." His blonde student emerged shortly thereafter with a packet filled with tea leaves, Sakura's kettle, and his nose dripping red. Wiping his nose, he sent a clone with his kettle to the river to wash it out as he filled Sakura's up with their water supply in camp, provided by Kakashi last night, and put it on the fire. As they sat in silence, Naruto suddenly shot back with a massive nosebleed and landed on the ground with a huge perverted smile on his face. Sakura soon stormed out of the woods holding his student's kettle on the warpath. Her eyes promised pain as she grabbed Naruto and shook him awake. When he came to and saw the position he was in, a terrified look formed on his face. Sakura gave him one of her sweetest smiles and cooed, "Naruto, your Kage Bunshins transfer all their memories to you upon completion, right?" The blonde was absolutely quivering in fear. He obviously couldn't find his voice as he gave a tentative nod to the angel of death before him. Upon seeing his affirmation, Sakura hit him up in the air with his kettle before tossing it aside and winding up a punch while loading her fist with chakra. As Naruto was about to hit the ground, she delivered a devastating uppercut to his stomach that launched him even higher into the air. Kakashi watched his student's flight path and commented, "That was a very creative one, Sakura, I'm impressed by your ingenuity." As he finished his sentence, his blonde student impacted the earth, leaving a large crater. As the dust settled, Sakura walked up to Naruto and picked up his barely conscious form and growled out, "If you ever speak of what you saw, I will remove your balls and make you a necklace out of them." When she finished talking, she threw the whiskered youth out of the crater and next to the fire. Naruto managed a pained gasp. And was just able to get out worth it, before he collapsed into unconsciousness. Wondering what Naruto's clone saw that demanded such punishment, he ordered Sai to pack the tents as he steered clear of Sakura. Once Naruto returned to consciousness 5 minutes later, they were ready to move out just before the sun became completely visible over the horizon. They took to the trees as Kakashi stretched his senses once again, trying to find their mysterious observer as they moved. Once it became clear that he wouldn't be finding anything, Kakashi addressed his students and Shibuki. "We are about an hour away from the drop-off point, but I would like to make a little better time, so let's pick up the pace. Once we drop the client off, we shall return to Konoha, and on the way back I shall shadow you and occasionally attack you as we travel back to Konoha. After each attack we will rest while we discuss the previous engagement before changing the parameters of the next attack. We shall do one more night of camping, except this time it will just be you three camping and I will attack at random intervals using different methods, so let's hurry up so we can get to the fun." Inwardly laughing at the looks on his students' faces, well, Naruto's and Sakura's at least, Kakashi hoped the observer got the message that they aren't a threat and Shibuki will be on his own at some point soon. He really didn't like to set up the cowardly leader like that, but if this person could avoid Kakashi's heightened senses, then it didn't bear well for his wards in battle, and better Shibuki than his pupils. Kakashi knew that they were approaching the hidden entrance of Taki, seeing as he snuck in himself once on an ANBU mission a long time ago. The feeling in his stomach abated around 10 minutes ago, and he went even more on edge as his thoughts began racing. "We're approaching the drop-off point and it's almost the moment of truth. Are they after Shibuki or one of us? I hope this doesn't turn out like Nami." Putting his book in his back pouch, Kakashi prepared to draw a weapon at a moment's notice when the scent of iron reached his nose. "Smells like blood, we'd better go check it out." "Guys, hold up, I smell blood coming from our left somewhere, we're going to approach it, but stay out of sight and quiet until I tell you what to do. Now let's move out." Getting 3 confident nods, he looked at Shibuki. The man looked ready to bolt the opposite direction and nearly jumped out of his pants when he heard a bird squawk. "Shibuki, stick close, you're not back at your village yet, so it's still our duty to protect you." The cowardly ninja gave a fearful nod and they set out. Eventually they got to a river and saw the source of the blood. There were 2 genin, a boy and girl around 12 years of age, floating down the river with their throats slit open as the water turned red around their bodies and swirled with the current. This was done recently. The bodies are leaving a trail of blood, so that means the wounds are still bleeding. Clamping a hand over Naruto's mouth before he could explode, he looked at the rest of the team, thinking of how to proceed. Shibuki and Sakura looked on the verge of tears at the gruesome sight, while Sai looked like he wasn't looking at murdered kids. Pushing aside his own disgust at killing children so cold-heartedly, Kakashi began, "Naruto, this was done recently, so the perpetrators are probably still in the area, which leads me to believe that your village is under attack, Shibuki." "Naruto, listen, I am disgusted by the fact that they killed children like this too, I really am. But if you yell or run off half-cocked in anger, it won't do anyone any good and possibly get us all killed." After mollifying the hot-tempered blonde, Kakashi removed the hand from his student's mouth and continued, "Shibuki, with your permission, we would like to assist you in protecting the civilians of your village. If this is okay, we will proceed cautiously into the village and properly ascertain the situation before moving in." Turning to Naruto and Sakura, he continued, "And this won't be like the bridge, I promise. And a man needs to keep his promises, right, Naruto? You two have grown significantly since that mission, and you 3 are more than capable of handling yourselves, but when we are inside of the village you shall follow my orders without question and with haste, and you 3 shall always stick together when we go in. Remember, there is strength in teamwork." Turning to the shell-shocked leader of Taki, Kakashi said, "Lead on, Shibuki." Getting a small nod, they followed Taki's head ninja toward his village, hoping for the best. Kakuzu finished climbing the mountain that housed Takigakure and stood above a fissure in the rock that was covered in slime, moss, and overgrown with vines. "How nostalgic, standing in front of the crevice that I used to escape my home all those years ago. I wonder how Taki has changed since I left. Perhaps I should leave my former village with a present after I collect the hero water. I better take my Akatsuki cloak off though, don't want to get yelled at for drawing attention to our organization." Removing his kasa and cloak, he revealed that he had a white scarf wrapped over his head and a rolled-up black bandana with a triangular fold coming out the top, with no head plate on his forehead. He had strange eyes with a red sclera, green iris, and no pupil, and they looked vile as he envisioned his return to the place he hated most, his home. He wore a black shirt that extended down to mid-thigh with a white belt, midnight blue almost black pants, and white leg warmers with black sandals. He looked down at the crevice leading into the village before speaking to himself once again, "It's too bad that there aren't any noteworthy shinobi inside. I wouldn't mind making some money on this little venture."
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.